In today's video, we're talking about the band Judicator, and the name of the album is Master of Decay. The album was released on November 25th, 2022 through Prosthetic Records. So Judicator is an American power metal band. In my opinion, they remind me a lot of Blind Guardian. They are power metal, but to be honest with you, or on this album, they have like lots of other influences from other genres, progressive metals, a little bit of thrash, and a little bit of like everything else. The album is a concept album. It's a story connected with like their third album, which is called At the Expense of Humanity. And that album was about the vocalist's experiences watching his brother die after a long battle with cancer. So this album has lots of elements about family relationships and suffering, and it's a very complex story. The album has 10 songs. It's an hour long. Most of the songs are between 5 minutes and 9 minutes, and it's power metal. It has lots of elements of like heavy metal as well. There's some thrash, some progressive. They mix it up a lot. So this sound is very complex. So what do you get on this album? You're gonna get lots of like guitar riffs, lots of like new wave British heavy metal style guitar riffs. Sometimes they go into like a speed metal direction. Sometimes they're more like progressive metal, like with these stop-start riffs. But on the majority of the album, it's just lots of like harmonies. And these harmonies are kind of like mixed together with heavy guitar riffs and melodic lead guitars. Think about like Blind Guardian meeting Dream Theater. It has a really great bass sound. The bass a lot of times like alternates with the guitar, so you do hear like isolated bass riffs. And just in general, like the bass is very good. The drumming is just very complex. Sometimes they're like super heavy, like a real like metal band. Other times they're like playing like different rhythms, changing the tempo. So I like that a lot. And the vocals, I think this is a really important aspect of this album and this band. In general, that they remind me a lot of like Blind Guardian, but there are other times where like the vocals might remind you of something different. Like there were some songs where I'm thinking like, hey, this reminds me of like Serge Tankian from System of a Down. And then there are other times where like the songs are a little more proggy. Yeah. And I'm thinking this reminds me a little bit of like John Anderson from Yes. So that the album has that going for it. As far as other instruments, sometimes they do some symphonic stuff. There's some saxophone, some horns, some keyboards, and a lot going on in this album. So it's an hour long, but I'm only gonna talk about like 4 songs just to keep this video like fairly brief. My favorite 4 songs. Track number 1. This one opens the album with just some like soft acoustic guitar passages. It just like slowly builds up, and there's like a lot of instruments playing together. These like beautiful passages and all these like layers of sound. It's very melodic, and you don't really have lots of heavy guitars. This is like the album opener. It's very soft, but you do get lots of like vocal harmonies, and the song goes through like different changes. Just a really good song. Like it's really great listening to it with headphones. You get to hear like everything that's going on. The next one I want to talk about is track 3, From the Belly of the Whale. I like this one because it starts off very heavy. You got these like chunky thrash metal riffs, and then the song moves on. You get lots of like guitar harmonies, and that like dominates most of the song. And they do lots of like twists and turns, kind of like prog stuff. You got tempo changes, and they add in some keyboards towards the end. But the main focus on this song are like the harmonies. My next favorite will be the High Priestess, and this is probably the most experimental song. It starts with like a funky, kind of like disco kind of thing, has some keyboards, and then it goes into like the power metal direction. But they add in like these horns and then some more typical power metal stuff. Then in the middle of the song, they have like just a keyboard part where kind of reminds me of like that like Deep Purple albums, those like older ones with that organ sound. I like the song a lot. It's just very experimental. They're taking lots of chances, and they're doing the different things. You get the horns at like different parts, and it's a very different song. So I thought that really made it stood out. That's what I'm trying to say. And the last one I'll talk about is track number 9. It's called Judgment. This is like one of the final songs. I think the last 2 songs were like the longer ones, and this one is just it's kind of some. Has like softer passage like during the first verse, but then there's a lot of more like ambient stuff and more atmospheric parts, but it's still power metal. this is a really good bass guitar song. It just stands out. At one point, it kind of like harmonizes with like the cleaner tone. Just the vocals are really good, and they do like these like higher range melodies in the vocals. I like that part about it. So, in conclusion, definitely one of the best like power metal albums I heard like, in a while. I was actually surprised. This is like a late entry, and it's coming out at the end of the month. And I've basically found out about this band from Hammerheart Metal Reviews. He did a ranking and a review of this, and otherwise I would have never heard of this band. And I'm actually, glad I saw his channel and I found out about it because I enjoyed this. It's just a good album. I think if you're a fan of power metal and you like things to be a little different, sometimes a little heavier, sometimes a little more proggy, I think you'll like this. This one I'm giving a high score. My score is going to be 9 out of 10. And I will be doing my top 50 albums sometime, so this will probably be on there. Just a little spoiler alert. I won't say where. But that's all, and let me just wrap this up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.